Hello friends, welcome back. Hope you're doing well. Today I'm sharing a first look at Aperty, the new portrait editing tool from the folks at Skylum Software that also make Luminar Neo. I've got a beta copy, so I'm going to show you what it currently looks like, and because it's beta, some things can change. I don't know if they will, but I just like to point that out. And I'm going to walk through a few things about the product. Let's go ahead and jump into it. It's coming November 7. I've got these slides here. It's really built around the idea of natural looking results. It's a very good tool. And I'm not a portrait photographer, but this makes me interested in editing portraits. But they do a really good job. There's incredible control and power. I'm going to walk through that and show you some of that. But you can kind of see the things that they're talking about here. Again, really highly focused on natural looking results, performance, and that sort of thing. Now, one of the great things about it is this facial recognition and the things that it can do. I realize these color pictures with all the splotches look really funny, but it's pointing out that there's up to 30 different classes of face and body parts that it will recognize. So if you're a portrait photographer and you're doing these kind of edits, weddings, senior portraits, whatever kind of portrait sessions, this is going to be a tool for you, and it's pro level class. It was built in combination with Julia Trotti, who's a well-known portrait photographer and YouTuber. So I think there's been a lot of input from someone that works in the business in terms of what the product needs, and it's got a lot of things. It does recognize up to 4,000 facial points, and if you're asking, hey, well, Luminar Neo does portraits, and it does, and I think it does just a fine job with portraits, but Luminar Neo recognizes something like 32 or 34 different facial points, and this recognizes 4,000. So that's what I mean. We're talking about it's a separation in terms of what the product's designed for, because this is specific to portrait editing, and that's all it is. So Luminar is obviously very powerful at doing landscapes, cityscapes, and great at getting started in portraits. If you're really diving into portraits, this may be the tool for you. Also, all the AI is done on device, and so your information is always safe and private. As I mentioned, it's coming November 7th. On October 31st, anyone that enters into the pre-order period will actually get an early access version. So basically, pre-order, you get it on Halloween, so you get it a week early. And you're probably curious about pricing, and it's not inexpensive. In fairness, it's an expensive tool, but for someone that's doing this, it's, I think, well worth it because of what it will do, how fast it works, and how much time it can save you. So there is a lifetime access offer up until September 30th. They have a few copies of that left to sell. Sells for $249. Now that lifetime license is 2 years of new features and 5 years of updates. So to clarify that, it's 2 years of upgrades, new features, etc., but 5 years of updates, which would be UI changes, bug fixes, things like that. And that is a perpetual license, so just keep that in mind. That's what this lifetime access is for. After that 5-year period, then you could continue using it as long as your hardware and software support it, but you would be outside of the scope of the upgrade and update cycle. October 1st to November 6th, during this pre-order period, as you can see, it's $199. So that's their early bird offer. And in addition to the 1-year subscription, because it is a subscription at that point, you also get 1 year as a gift. So 2 years for the price of one, essentially. And then after November 7th, after launch, it's full price, either 1 month or 12-month plan, a subscription. They will have a 14-day money-back guarantee, but there's no free trials available upon release. And each of these licenses is for 2 seats. You can always get more if you want to. Now, you're probably curious what products or what OS and hardware and that sort of thing that this works on. Here is a chart, and if you have questions about that, either check the Skylum website or just pause this video and take a look there. But I wanted to go ahead and jump into the product because I think that's probably what you're here for. Now, the first thing I want to point out is that it's a very familiar design if you have Luminar Neo already, but there's a key difference, and that is there's no catalog in this product. It is a project-based product, which means you can create new projects. You just click plus, add a folder of images, or you'll have existing projects. I have this one called Test. It has photos in it. You can kind of see the thumbnail image here. And there's 13 photos, as you can see there. So that is one of the key differences. It's project-based. So what that means is there's not a catalog where you manage your photos. It does work as a plugin. In fact, you can just go to the Aperty menu and install plugins, and it'll work in Photoshop or Lightroom Classic. It also works in Mac OS Photos. But because it's project-based and there's not a catalog, it does work as standalone, but if you're using it as a plugin from Lightroom, for example, You can go from Lightroom to Aperty, do your edits, apply them, go back to Lightroom. But then you don't save your edits because, again, there's not a catalog. And what that means is if you want to maintain all your edits and be able to go back and adjust minor modifications to edits you made before, you need to keep those projects and use it as a project-based editor, meaning you need to have these folders, like I had this test folder here, and keep them and use it effectively standalone unless you're using smart objects in Photoshop. So there's a lot of little things like that to be aware of, but what I want to do is go ahead and double click that and get into it and show you the interface and walk you through this. Now I'm going to do a little bit of editing in this video, but this is not a full edit or full workflow demonstration. This is a high level getting to know you demonstration of what the product is. Across the top, you've got your traditional menu where you can check for updates, all that. This is your project menu, so that takes me back to where I was before. I'm going to go back into the project that I was in, and if I want to add more photos to the project that I'm in, I just click that button, and it opens up, and you can see I'm in my test folder. You've got clone and stamp as well as erase here, and then over here you've got dodge and burn. So these are separate brushes to allow you to do those kind of things to your photos if you need to do that. I don't at this time, and what I want to do is jump into the editing. So I think that's where this product really shines because it's so unique. You will notice on the bottom there's a film strip. If there's a raw photo, it says raw, as you can see. And if it doesn't say that, then it is, of course, a JPEG. You can see I've got a lot of different portraits. These are all portraits that I've taken over the years, even though I'm not a portrait photographer. I take them sometimes so that I can practice for videos like this. And it's fun. I just like to edit photos. So I think you already know that about me. You can see all the camera-related information up top. And then down here at the bottom, you've got your zoom window, your before and after. And then here you can hide the film strip if you want. And then here you can sort the photos in this project. Now to jump over here to the right-hand side, you can start with essentials. Actually, I'm going to start all the way at the top. So if I start at the top, the first thing you have is presets. There are presets, there are favorites you can add, and then you can create your own. I haven't done any of that, but there's various presets available. And that's what this first little button is. The second one is actually masking. There's really powerful masking included here, which I think is fantastic, and frankly, I love. If you've seen any of my other videos, I'm always masking and I'm always talking about masking, and it is frankly a critical skill for edits. And even though there's tons of advanced features here in Aperty, masking is still super important. So you can mask people, you can mask background, you can add a mask here, and you can see brush, linear, radial gradient, even luminosity mask. And so you've got lots of power. You can combine masks, you can stack masks, you can adjust masks. It's really powerful. And again, I don't have the time in this video to go through and demonstrate how they all work, but they work like they do in other products. The brush mask, the luminosity, the radial, and the linear gradient, same as in Luminar Neo if you're already familiar with that. So I'm going to go ahead and close masking menu, and I'm just going down here from the right-hand side. The next one, you may recognize that icon, that is crop and optics, so what they like to call canvas correction. So changing the aspect ratio, distortion corrections, chromatic aberration, all the kind of things that you would typically do. That's the little canvas icon there. And then this one gets you back into essentials. And this is very similar if you have Luminar Neo already, or really other apps where you, like Lightroom, for example, you've got kind of your basic panel, and that's kind of what develop here is. You will notice it says raw because this is a raw file. Various camera profiles. So again, you can go through these and kind of hover, and as you hover, you'll see that it shows up on the photo. Typical white balance, including the drop-down options, as well as a dropper if you need to make adjustments. I'm not going to do that. And then your basic light adjustments. Here, let's say, and I'll do a little bit of editing. I'm going to pull down the highlights, lift some of the shadows a little bit, maybe add a little bit of contrast, and just kind of brighten up that photo a little bit. So before, after, before, after. You can play with temperature and tint if you want to, many other things. I'm not going to, but I want to walk through some of these edits. You do have a full curves tool if you need it. You've got color, which is also HSL. Again, very familiar. Black and white, sharpening, details, structure, and noise reduction. So very common adjustments. Again, especially if you're coming from Luminar Neo, but they give you a lot of power and a lot of control. And remember, I'm working on a global basis. So none of this is masked. I'm in the develop raw tool, and I'm working with that rich raw data. Now, having done that, the next icon down, by the way, I made some adjustments. So just like in Luminar, there's a little dot right there next to this icon for the Essentials tab, meaning, hey, I've done some adjustments there just to be aware. So I'm going to jump to the next one. You'll see that dot stays there on Essentials, and I've moved down to Retouch, which is this second one, and it's now kind of highlighted or in bold. It's a little bit brighter than the other icons in the stack. Now, a few things here, like I'm going to scoot in a little bit, and I'm actually going to maybe zoom out a little bit. I don't want to get too zoomed in. Whoops. Okay, so blemish removal. So you're just going to expect pretty common things here, and you can see it's already done a pretty excellent job. And one of the things I think is really nice is that it really maintains a lot of the original texture. So of course, if you wanted to do kind of a cartoonish thing, which I don't recommend, but if you're having fun, it's easy to go over the top and make kind of plastic skin in a lot of apps. But this gives you the ability to really maintain that natural texture, but remove some of the kind of sort of temporary blemishes that may exist. Freckles, you can add back details with skin smoothing. Maybe I'll bring up a little bit of that. And again, it smooths it out a little bit and makes it look really nice. But if you look at the before and the after, of course, I've brightened it a little bit too, but before and after, you can see that the skin texture is still there. So it's not plasticizing the look. Color correction, face brightening. I think I do need a little bit of that. And shine removal. There's a little bit of shine on like the bridge of her nose, some of her cheeks and that sort of thing. So you can do that quickly and easily before, after, really getting there with this portrait. Eyes, you've got similar tools as you may see in Luminar Neo, where you can change the color, add a little flare, remove some redness. Maybe I'll add a little bit of whitening. Maybe I'll crisp them up a little bit. It's kind of like adding clarity with that eye enhancement tab or slider. And then mouth. I'm going to do a little bit of teeth whitening and brightening, just a little bit. Already she has pretty white teeth, but before and after, I think this portrait is really coming to life. Now, one of the really unique things here is the makeup tools. And if you look at it, I mean, this is pretty extensive, and this is not something that you're going to find in your everyday kind of apps that can also edit portraits. Again, specific to portrait editing, so it gives you lots of power. The cool thing here, one of the many cool things really, is cheeks or cheeks and nose. So you can pick either, hey, I want to apply these edits just to the cheeks, or I want to do cheeks and nose. So I can come in here and note that I'm in blush. So I have the ability to add a little bit of blush if you want to add a tiny bit of redness to the cheeks and the nose in this case, because that's the tab that I'm on. You can adjust the tones. You can do the width, height, as well as the X or Y axis in terms of where that blush is falling on the model. Move it up, down, or left, right. Very cool, very powerful. There's contouring, which adds you a little bit of like shadow and contrast. I'm going extreme here so you can see it better. I don't want to add it to this model's face, but if you look at that before and after, you can see that's what contouring does. Highlights, there's eyeliner, and then there's lips. Maybe a tiny bit of saturation on the lips. And I'm going to go ahead and close the makeup section, but again, powerful, great control, and I just think that's really cool. And now I'm going to look at body skin smoothing, and so let's go in here and maybe look at like her shoulder and neck area. And I'm going to go ahead and just add some body skin smoothing. You can also enhance details as well as do color correction if you need to. So if you look at the before, that's her skin before I did this body smoothing, and after, there it is. Smooth a little bit, and 32 is probably a little high, but the point is you can see that and it's recognizable, and it allows you to address the entire body, not just the face. And that's going back to my slides where they talk about all the different parts of the body that it can recognize. Again, super, super powerful stuff. So I would say we're done with this retouch. You can see, again, these little blue dots here on the edge that show I've used Essentials and Retouch. Now I'm going to go into this next one down, which is Reshape. And this gives you, again, massive amounts of control. And honestly, it's just fun. As you can tell, I get excited about it. You can slim a face if you need to. Won't be doing that here, obviously. You can adjust the shape of the eyes. You can also arch the eyebrows, change their position, and include the distance between them, make it less or more, depending on how you may or may not want to do that. Gives you a lot of power and a lot of control. This is really interesting to me. This nose, you can adjust the shape of the bridge as well as the tip, and you can actually move the tip left or right if you want or need to, for example. So I'll just go ahead and, for the heck of it, just apply a little bit of shaping to the tip of the nose, and I'll move it a little bit on the X, a little bit on the Y. This is probably going to look ridiculous. While I'm at it, let me go ahead and just adjust the shape of the bridge as well. Let me zoom in. So if you look at the before, there's the entire photo before, but if you look at her nose, there it is before, and you look at it after, you can see it's made a minor adjustment there. And again, not something I need to do on this photo, but I wanted to just point out that you have this kind of control, which I think is super interesting and super cool. You can adjust the lip position, upper and lower lip shape, and then of course you can do body contouring as well with the shape as well as the abdomen. These kind of things are similar to what's in Luminar Neo. I'm not going to go into those there. And in fact, I haven't done anything in Reshape because I want to jump in now to the creative tools. And some of these are going to be familiar to you, again, if you have Luminar Neo, where you can come in with Studio Light, and maybe we're going to add a little bit of Studio Light here. I can click Show on Canvas, and that'll give me this little dot. I can move it around. You may be familiar with how this works. I think that amount is too much, but it gives you the ability to pop a little bit of a light on their face before, after, kind of across the whole body in this case. But you can also customize, right? So you've got the different textures where you have greenery, so it looks like the light is coming through something. I think that's super cool. And different patterns as well. There's strips or dots. So in addition, you have this little section here where you can move things around. So there's really quite a bit that you can do with Studio Light before and after. Now, I don't need any of that because this is like an outdoor portrait and I don't really want to do that, but I wanted to point that out. And then you've got all these other things. Portrait bokeh, you can come in and do LUTs. You can add film grain, vignette, and high key. I mean, honestly, there's so much you can do. It's a lot of fun, but it's a very powerful and interesting tool. And I think that it gives you so much powerful control over portraits that it's kind of unbelievable, really. So one more time, before, after, just kind of a quick edit here. I can come back and do more stuff, but let me know what questions you have. I'll do my best to answer them. Wanted to give you a quick look, maybe not that quick, but a first look at Aperty, what it looks like, how it works, some of the things that you can do, and I'm pretty excited about it. And again, even though I'm not a portrait editor or a portrait photographer, I do like editing all kinds of photos, including portraits, because it's just fun. I'll be back with more. Hope it helps. Thanks for watching, my friends. If you have any questions, check it out at the link below, by the way. If you want to get a copy, you can reserve it down there. And I'll see you soon, my friends. You guys take care. Thanks for watching, and until next time, adios.